Hey guys, Drama All for Life here today, and I'm back with another video. Now, today's video, I'm going to be reviewing episode 1 of She-Hulk. Now, if I'm being honest, I wasn't really planning on watching this show and even reviewing it, but I saw this one scene that somebody posted on YouTube Shorts, and he was talking about it, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should check out the episode. And since I watched it, I was like, you know what, why not just, make a video on it? Though I do love Marvel, I do think it has declined significantly in recent years, and I've cared less and less about a lot of stuff. Though I have watched a couple of their shows, like Loki. I love that show. Falcon and Winter Soldier. I know a lot of people have a problem with that show, but I love the banter between Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's like some bros, like they're like straight up bros. So I love that. And I obviously watched Moon Knight, which I did a whole review to the entire season. I don't know if they're gonna have a season 2. Hopefully they do. But I have that. If you guys want to go check it out, go check it out. But today I'm going to be talking about, She-Hulk. And as a whole, the concept of this beast, I know a lot of people online have problems with She-Hulk and, this show as a whole and just Marvel and stuff. And I want to touch upon this stuff. So let's talk about the show as a whole. Now, in this episode, basically, it starts off with She-Hulk, or I forgot what her full name is, Jen, whatever. I'm just gonna call her She-Hulk. So She-Hulk, she basically, it starts off with this scene where she's trying to give this in court. She's trying to give this one monologue or something about, I guess, unity or something. I forgot. So she's trying to give it. She had her friend there that is listening, and then she has another lawyer guy that's there, and he's just like, disagreeing with it, mocking and saying, "Hey, let me do it." And already right here, you can see the narrative that they're trying to pull is, oh, look at a woman trying to make it big and showcase her intelligence and her worth and a such a big type of company like a law firm. But now we have a man who's just belittling them and trying to take them down and trying to take the credit for it, saying, "I'm a man, let a man do it," which I absolutely hate that type of writing. That is not really reasonable. Yes, does that happen sometimes throughout life? Yes, but it is not very common in these workplaces. They make it sound like in these workplaces, especially nowadays, that men are just belittling women and taking their credit for their work, which is, it seems very, it seems like a very vain way of thinking, because they're like, wow, look at how superior and how great us women are, and look at how, how mad men get that, to the point that they just try to belittle us to make themselves feel better, or try to steal our ideas and try to take our stuff. Like, that doesn't really happen. Show me cases of this happening where guys are just belittling women in the workplace and taking their work. And it's not a common thing. It might happen sometimes, but this happens with like all people. Men get it too. Like, depending on where you're at in a company, if you're on a lower level, man or woman, you're going to be talked down to by the higher ups, and the higher ups will most likely take your, your work and use it as their own. But it isn't a man-woman thing. They're trying to make it sound like women do put all this work and men do, all they do is belittle them and take their stuff, and it's just like, stop. So that I didn't like. It already started off with a guy being a complete douchebag for no reason. Then we have her with, Bruce Banner, and they're driving in a car, and she's talking about Captain America, and she starts talking about, oh, he was frozen nice and stuff, and I knew it was going to lead up to her talking about him being a virgin or something. I was like, first of all, why do you care? Why does that matter? Second of all, it's like, well, what do you expect? He came to the military young, and then he got frozen and stuff. Like, what do you expect? Like, most of his life was spent frozen and fighting, so okay, who cares? At the end of the day, he's a hero. And I did see somebody online getting mad about it, saying, man, she's literally belittling his, women don't want men to talk, belittle or, talk about their sexuality and stuff, but then she's belittling him for, being a virgin and stuff. And I do agree with that. It's like, just because he didn't get any action doesn't mean you have the right to mock him and make fun of him. The guy's a hero. He's trying to save lives. And he did go back in time and, lived with the other woman. I forgot what her name was. Samantha Carter. He ended up with her and grew old, so I'm pretty sure he's no longer a virgin. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The car crashes because of a ship coming. She gets Hulk's blood on her, which is not in the... that's not how the comic book went. In the comic book, she got shot by a criminal. Bruce saved her and then gave her a blood transfusion, which turned her into She-Hulk. This one, she's saving him from the car and taking him out, and his blood drips on her and she gets it. I don't like this change because the other one made Bruce like the hero he is. Also, it was more like, it was a cooler one because now it's like, well, her life is on the line and he has to save his cousin, but he might turn her into a Hulk, but he has no other option, so he has to. But in this one, it's just like, oh, by an accident, it fell on me. On top of that, Why is she saving him from the car? He can still go turn into Hulk, which he does. He turns into the Hulk later on. So it's like, yes, he has a machine that can stop him, but he did it anyway. So it's like, what's the point of saving him? He could just easily transform into the Hulk and be safe. But yeah, I think the reason they did that, and somebody stated, was they want to make her look more heroic and not look like a damsel in distress. Was like, it's okay to have a situation where a character's in, bad situation and they saves their life, or something happens and gives them superpowers and changes them. Why did she have to be just heroic and change the comic? I felt like the comic did it a perfectly normal way. There was nothing weird with it or wrong with it that you could say or whatever. But yeah, she does this. She hulks out. She ends up in a place. She ends up in this bar. Goes into there. These women come in assuming that she got beat up by a man, which, you know, I guess you can. It's understandable, but still, it's like, why would a guy steal her shoes, get her dirty and stuff like that? It's just weird. But yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, assume guys are just beating a woman if she's hurt. It kind of be like she got in a car accident or something else happened. But yeah, and then they start talking like, or her, or they, them, which I have no problems with those pronouns or whatever. But when they add in those type of stuff, like we're like, well, we're not going to judge and assume that you're just straight. You might be a lesbian, or you might be with somebody who's transgender or non-binary or whatever. And when they do that stuff, it feels so unnatural. You could add that in, but it feels unnatural when they do it like that. And that was just like to be like, hey, women, we support gay couples like lesbians, and we support transgender and non-binary people. And it's like, okay, we get it, but you did such a half-fisted attempt that it sounded so cheesy. And it's like, when I saw that part, I'm like, oh my god, they're really trying to force this on us to show us, like, look at how how much of an ally we are, whatever. But after this happens, some guys harass her. She goes into She-Hulk, nearly kills them, which Bruce has to jump in and stop her. Which, if I'm being honest, once again, another obnoxious trope from Hollywood. It's not just from Marvel, but from DC and just movies in general, where they either have guys who are complete total douchebags to women, mistreating them, or guys who are complete creeps and would be complete criminals and be need to be locked up. Or the guys are just complete puss boys and you just disrespect them all the time, even when they're trying to be nice to you. So I don't like that stuff. It's like, can't you just have normal guys and normal women? Why does it always have to be extremities with you guys? So I can see why a lot of people hated that. And personally, I hated the scene too. It was like, wow. So just because guys go to a bar and trying to, hit on ladies and hook up with ladies, that does not mean that they're going to be some animals that are just going to, hound a woman. Not saying that isn't possible. There are videos. There's a video that I saw not too long ago where a woman was at a gas station and a guy and a couple other dudes or people are circling around her saying, yo, what's up? Can I get your number and stuff? And she obviously did not want any of it. So it does happen, obviously. But they're trying to make it sound like it's so common, so natural that of a guy and this sense of bad precedence on men and makes them look bad and makes men feel bad about this. Because now when men do try to go and ask women out in public and might get rejected a couple times, this makes them feel like, if they do, they're going to look like a creep and they're like harassing the women. And that's not always the case. Yes, I guess sometimes catcalling can be bad, but there's a fine line difference between catcalling and just asking somebody out. And I feel like a lot of women, especially with these works of fiction and the way they write it, they just assume that any form of asking out is considered catcalling as long as that other person is okay with it. It's like, sometimes the person doesn't know. If you verbalize it and then they're still pursuing, then that is. But if you verbalize it and then they didn't know and they're like, okay, cool, then it's not a big deal, But yeah, we already had a guy that was a complete asshole, and now we have her, and then we had her talking shit about and mocking Captain America if he's a virgin. Now we have a guy might have abused you, and now we have guys that are hounding this woman and basically being creepy, which is like, this is a common trope you see to make you have sympathy for a woman. It's like, look at all the stuff they go through. And it's like, yeah, that happens, but let's not act like this happens all the goddamn time. It's like with men. Men deal with a lot of violence and going outside. Sometimes there's a guy that try to press you and try to punk you out and stuff. And that does happen, but that doesn't always happen. It's a once in a while type of occurrence. It sucks, but it happens once in a while. Same thing with this. So they did that. She was going to kill them. And I'm pretty sure the feminists were cheering like, that's justifiable, even though it's not like they're sexually assaulting her, which if they did, then I would be okay with that, but whatever. So Bruce stops her, then he takes her, she's training, and he's trying to pull it out, and then Basically, he's doing all these other training stuff with her, and this is where she becomes a full-on cunt. And I remember this one guy, he on YouTube short, the video that I saw, he stated, he was talking about this one scene, which I'm gonna get into, and he was talking about it, and then some of the conversation was like, man, she sounds like a bitch. She's like, no, she's actually pretty cool and likable. I'm like, after watching the episode, no, she's not. First of all, she's trying to one up Bruce for no reason. He's trying to help her and teach her and, trying to help her through this, difficult process. And two, he's being nice and just being, a cool cousin, and she's being a bitch about it and being disrespectful, which he does get mad, which I respect. He does get mad and starts like, I'm not going to let you disrespect me, I'm going to give you attitude back. So I respected that. But she was just being an asshole, showing off, oh, they're doing the yoga shit. Look at how much more flexible I am than you. Look at I can throw this rock further than you. Look, I can do this more than you. Look, I'm smarter than you. She was even doing this when he first brought her down to the lab, and he fixed his arm. He's like, oh, I checked your genetic makeup with the gamma radiation. It's like mine where you can absorb it, but yours is a little different, and I use yours to synthesize something to heal my arm, which I always thought that was stupid. He has regeneration. He does not need that. And game, they for some reason made him not have regeneration. It's not like they completely already shat on him that they had to remove something like that too. But he had that to heal himself up, and she just comes off talking like, I'm better than you. That means I'm better than you. That means I'm genetically superior to you. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, why do you gotta be an asshole? Like, the fuck? Like you at most, if that was me in my situation, I'd be like, oh, congratulations, thanks, but what am I going to do about this? How am I going to fix it up? What does that mean? Does it mean I'm different than you and stuff like that? Because he was trying to explain to her that means that her body works differently with the mutation, so it's just different, like, it works differently with different people. And what she got from that is, this means I'm genetically superior to you, and I'm also superior to you, and I can handle this Hulk mutation better than you. And it's just like, why do you have to be, making a competition? He was in... It was just a douchey thing, so that pissed me off. Her doing also other stuff. I do like Hulk got a big rock and just super tossed in. He's like, oh, you wanna show off and stuff. So yeah, I did like that part. And then she's just like, complaining the entire time. It's like, I get it, but it's like, you see the situation is not normal and you need help. And then she's like, oh, I can control it. Maybe this means I'm better than you. No, it's not. In the comics, Hulk has multiple personality disorders, so he has trouble distinguishing between his different sides, and he has a fractured mind. Whereas Jen was a normal person, and the reason Bruce is like that is because he went through abuse and seeing his mom die, and he went through a lot of suffering and pain in his life, and it kind of developed within him. Where her, she was just a normal ass person. She didn't have any of that, and so that's why he's present in the comic. But in this one, she's trying to say, I'm superior. It's like, no, you're not. The only reason he has that is because he had trauma through life. Most of the stuff he went through life wasn't that traumatic, let's be honest. And this is where it leads up to the scene that I'm talking about, where I'm pretty sure most of you know, she's sitting there, he's trying to make her control her anger, he's like, you have to control your anger, and then she gives the whole speech of, I'm a woman, and women go through so much that we control our anger better than any man. And she's like, I have to go through guys belittling me in my own work, mansplaining, being catcalled and all this stuff, which a lot of them are bad, but a lot of them are over-exaggerated. I'm not saying they don't happen, but not to this extent or as much or to every woman. It just feels like they're over-exaggerating a lot. But she's doing that and I'm able to control my anger better than you, infinitely better than you. And I was just like... And this guy was the one who said she's likable, but he disagreed with this part, which I agree with. But when she said that pissed me off so much. It pissed me off because, one, it is completely not true. Two, if you don't know somebody else's situation, the worst thing to say to them is, I've dealt with problems better than you, or I had more problems than you. It's just like, you don't need to compete, and you doing that, it makes you look like an asshole who thinks like your life is the worst and everybody else's life is perfect or whatever. So I don't like that. That pissed me off. But also I went through this and stuff, so I would control my anger really well. No, you're not. You do not. Let's be honest. So she says that, and the reason why that's stupid is for many reasons. And one is, Hulk and Bruce Banner have gone through infinitely more traumatic stuff than her. She said that was the worst things in her life. Boo-hoo. What did he go through? He went through an abusive father that didn't want him to be born in the first place, had his mother killed in front of him who was trying to protect him from getting beaten by his dad, then, having to be put into foster homes and, not having anybody care for him, then being bullied in school for being a nerd, getting into the military, getting bossed around by General Thunderbolt Ross, falling in love with his daughter, not being allowed to because of General Thunderbolt Ross, then turning into the Hulk, which he had to deal with that whole problem, then avoiding the military, avoiding police, going from leaving his own, leaving his own state, going from country to country on the runaway and stuff, not being able to connect emotionally with anybody. Which I'll also talk about a scene that they mentioned throughout this where it basically she contradicts herself in this regard and makes her kind of look stupid. But yeah, he went through that, and then he couldn't see Betty, and then he comes back and Betty's with another guy, and then he has to get back with her, and then he has to go through this, and then he loses her. Then he gets with Black Widow, but then he gets his mind messed up and he kills a bunch of people, and he didn't want to, and he leaves for 2 years stuck in his body, and then he's fighting for control, and he hates himself. He has all this self-hate, and then he loses his former lover, which was Black Widow, and lost his two of his best friends dying, dealt with the blip and all that stuff. So you went through all this shit consistently, and you're telling me that you infinitely can hold your anger better than him when what you've gone through is not even a fraction as bad as him. Not even even if we left it to the child abuse and his mom dying, it's significantly worse than yours. You're telling me catcalling and being belittled a little bit and mansplained is infinitely worse than that? Shut the fuck up, you dumbass. That shit pissed me off. I want to be like, and then you see femmes saying, true. Like, no, not true. First of all, you don't know shit about, the Incredible Hulk in comics. And second of all, that is not a good response to have towards anybody. Because if somebody, let's say, has more trauma than you, and then they reveal all their shit they went through, infinitely eclipsing yours, what are you going to say then? Oh, my bad? Or you could have just, controlled yourself and not been an asshole and thinking like your life is the worst and you're the strongest, you deal with all this shit. That shit pissed me off. I was like, you're so stupid. Like, he went through infinitely more than you. Those stuff are nowhere near as that bad. And I feel like that's the biggest problem with feminists and these type of shows. They try to over-exaggerate these stuff. Like, this happens all the time, which they don't. Sometimes they do, and they can be very bad. But not always, and they're not to that level either. So it's like, just stop. Like, it's just crazy. So she says this. Then, they get into a fight and stuff. They try to deal with it, and they go back and forth, and she's still, acting smug and stuff. She's talking shit to him. Bruce is like, she apologizes, but she's like, but the stuff is true. And it's like, really? Really? And he even calls out, like, I don't think that's an apology, but yeah, I do respect the fact that Banner was not taking her shit lightly either. One thing they do too much in a lot of these feminist stuff is they make the guys puss boys and they let them insult them, even when they did nothing wrong. They're the nice guy. They're like, I want a nice guy. Nice guy does this. Then they have a nice guy written these stories and they belittle them. So if you like nice guys, then why are you shitting on them too? The fuck? Are you mentally that deranged that you hate men that much that you're hating on even the nice guys? Fuck you then. That's why a lot of dudes treat you like shit. But there's like, and this one, he wasn't a complete pussboy. He talked back to her. He pushed her off. He called her a punk. He pushed her off the thing, which was a complete dick move. He was being aggressive with her, but he was also being nice. Obviously, he's his cousin, and he doesn't want to be that like that. But he did when she was hitting him. He was not holding back. He was hitting her back. He was beating her. He could have easily beat her. Obviously, he was holding back. But yeah, he was at least standing up for himself, which I respect. Every man, no matter what the woman is, you should always stand up for yourself. Never let them belittle you and talk down to you. Be like, hey, look, you can say whatever you want, but you're not going to be putting me down here, and I'm not just going to be letting you step all over me. So I do respect that. So people can't hate on that too much. But yeah, and then it ends up with her in the court fighting this one woman that breaks through, and she knocks her out, and she's like, okay, well, Bruce was right, which obviously, like, you can't just get rid of this problem. So that was the end of episode 1. Personally, a lot of stuff of it was mostly boring. A lot of stuff of it really did annoy me. People are saying that she's a likable character. No, she's not. She seems obnoxious already. Hopefully she, becomes less obnoxious. Like, nobody likes a character that shit talks everybody, especially somebody that's trying to be nice and help you out. If you're in a situation somebody's trying to help you out, you being a condescending douchebag does not make you endearing. It makes you obnoxious. If somebody's being a dick to you, then yeah, being condescending back, it's like, okay, they want to mess with you, you mess back. That's reasonable. But if somebody's being nice or just, trying to help you out and you're coming off as a cunt, it's like, okay, you're a piece of shit. Why would I like you, So yeah, that was very unlikable by her. But I do want to talk about something a little bit bigger than just the show itself, and it's feminist writing or female leads. Now, I have no problem with female leads. I think you can write a show or a movie with a female lead, though I will say that there's a little bit more into it. Oh yeah, before I get into that, I do want to mention one where she contradicted herself. She stated he was telling her to be a hero. She said, I don't want to be a hero. Look at you. You're lonely. You have nobody. You got no love, this and that. And he's like, yeah, but it's worth for the sacrifice of being a hero. And to me, I was like, you just said you can control your anger infinitely more because you have it worse by listing off those trivial things. And then you're also calling him out saying, well, you have nobody to love you, nobody around you, and you're always on the run. Isn't that worse than what you're going through? So that contradicted her statement. She was talking about how shit his life is and what he has to deal with, and then is also talking about her life is worse than his. So it's like contradictory. But yeah, I just want to talk about, because this is more than just She-Hulk. This is what we've seen quite a bit now. We've seen it with the Charlie's Angels movie. We've seen this countless times where there's a female lead. I don't have a problem with female lead. Now there are guys out there that say that, but that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. And I do agree with the women that call these guys out because they say, because the thing, and it's kind of complex, because these women, they want these badly written characters, and a lot of guys that hate it have a reasonable reason to hate that. But here's the thing with that too. A lot of guys say that, oh, they don't mind a female lead and stuff, and they're okay with it. But then they complain about these female leads being able to handle big guys and stuff like that. It's like, these are fiction. It doesn't matter. It's not supposed to be accurate. Especially if it's a comic book type of show. It's not supposed to be accurate. It doesn't matter how big the guy is and stuff. Who cares if the woman can knock him out? It's just for entertainment. Let them do it. As long as they're not trying to belittle the men in general, then I don't see a problem with it. But yeah, I do get where a lot of women get mad when guys, say that or complain. Because a lot of these dudes that do say that, oh, it's not because they're a woman. I'm okay with female leads. It's like, no, when they do have a female lead and handling, a situation in a certain way, and they're like, oh, guys, women can't do this. Yeah, well, guys can't take out hordes of men either by themselves, but we see that and we are okay with it. It's more reasonable, but that doesn't mean it's still reasonable in general, So I just feel like that is kind of stupid, but yeah, I kind of see it on both sides. I hate how lazily written these female characters are. They're Mary Sue's, they're well loved, and they're perfect at everything. They don't have any problems, and they act like assholes, and we're supposed to cheer them on like they're great characters. Then we have the guys' side where they're saying they don't have a problem with female leads, and I'm not saying all guys say this, but there are a lot of dudes that do say I don't have a problem with it, and then bitch about female leads simply by just being the main star of the story or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I see both sides having the problems, but I think the feminists are far worse when it comes to this. I'm sick and tired of seeing these shows where men are portrayed badly and women are portrayed as amazing. I think it's okay to have both sides portrayed good and bad and be reasonable. Everybody in this world has good and bad in them, so I don't really like that. Also, you don't make them perfect and stuff. You can make them struggle. For me, if I'm writing, a fictional character, if I was to write a fictional character, like let's say I write about a guy. If I'm writing a fictional character guy or a superhero character guy, yeah, I want some cool traits to them. I want them to be strong and powerful and, be wise and stuff like that. But I'll also put negative traits on them too. I'll put struggling. There's no fun of watching a show where the character does not struggle. The character needs to struggle in different avenues. They can't just be perfect and not struggle. So yeah, that's just my take on this, the feminist narrative when it comes to writing strong female leads and to She-Hulk. So yeah, I feel like this is going to be quite an obnoxious show with her in it. She seems like she's going to be annoying. Hopefully, and this is, being optimistic, hopefully she has more of, becomes more likable, more like normal instead of, being a spiteful person later on in the show. But yeah, that's it for this review. I don't know if I'll be uploading all the episodes. Maybe if I care about it, I will. If this gets a good amount of views, I will definitely will. But if not, I'll possibly not if I don't care, So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for next time.